guys, it's Berna Kenshin here. Welcome to my new podcast series. I decided to add a new series to my channel where I will be doing podcasts and inviting guests such as other YouTubers and Instagram accounts to talk about manga and anime series. In this particular podcast, I have invited Manga Philosophy on Instagram to talk about the fan-made alternate ending for Attack on Titan, titled Attack on Titan no Requiem. If you haven't heard of Manga Philosophy, go check out his Instagram. He makes really cool anime and manga analytical posts and reviews on some of my favorite series, of course like Attack on Titan and other manga series like Vinland Saga, Berserk, GTO, and many more. I will link his Instagram in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on the podcast. If you came to this video from my account, definitely subscribe to Berna Kenshin. Her stuff is great, and we plan on making more podcasts in the future.
Thank you. So, we're going to be talking about the fan-made alternate ending for Attack on Titan. We're also going to be talking about the actual ending written by Isayama himself. And we're just going to kind of give our thoughts on both and compare both of the endings. But for now, only part 1 of No Requiem has been published, so we have to wait for the rest of the series to be released. So we plan on making more episodes for this podcast as the series goes on. So No Requiem is actually based off of a fan-made theory for Attack on Titan. This theory has been circulating the fandom for quite a while now. Many believe that this is how Attack on Titan would end, but we were given a different ending. The Akatsuki no Requiem theory is based off of the fourth ending theme from the anime by Linked Horizon. Basically, the theory symbolizes how Eren would win in the end. Fans also made assumptions about the music video foreshadowing the ending. Akatsuki no Requiem theory ends with Eren creating a new timeline in which Titans don't exist, and his younger self would wake up in front of the tree and the rumbling would be undone. So before we get into talking about our thoughts on No Requiem, there has been a controversy online regarding No Requiem. Many have posted their opinions online about the fan-made alternate ending, many believing it's disrespectful to Isayama and his work. How do you feel about this?
So this is actually really interesting to me because I've seen a large amount of people, probably even the majority of people, saying it's disrespectful. And I wanted to give my own thoughts, but also quote something Isayama said. I personally strongly believe that it's not disrespectful whatsoever. This type of project is new to a lot of people, but there are many other fan projects like this out there. People will take a popular manga series and create their own desired ending. And not only that, but like this shows a huge level of respect and passion towards the series, in my opinion, due to the fact that these people are willing to draw all these pages, storyboard this ending, and market it, even though it's all nonprofit. That to me shows an incredible level of respect towards what Isayama has created. And the people working on Requiem have been nothing but respectful and showing love and passion towards Isayama's work. So I would definitely personally argue that it's not disrespectful whatsoever. And if anything, it's respectful towards Isayama. But to that point, Isayama himself, in an interview regarding Attack on Titan's ending, he said that there are times when he's come across fan art, fan works, fan fiction, and it makes him happy. He explicitly stated that it's like people are creating new types of fun out of Attack on Titan. I don't mind no matter how you were having fun with it. That to me is just the ultimate show of him expressing that this type of project doesn't bother him.
Oh, for sure. Isayama is honored to see fan work being made based off of his series. It's sad to see most of the fandom attacking the creators of No Requiem for creating their own ending when in reality it's just a fan-made ending. It can't hurt the actual ending in any way. So I wanted to jump into talking about No Requiem. So No Requiem starts off at chapter 137 in the canon manga, and we see child Eren waking up at the tree and path. And we also see his adult self. Compared to the canon manga, we didn't actually get much of Eren or Eren dialogue or Eren's point of view. He was mostly absent until the very end. Yes, we saw Eren a few times, like the iconic Freedom panel and a few panels of his Titan, but we didn't actually get to see an Eren POV until the very end, like when he broke down in front of Ramsey, the child, and Marley. How do you feel about No Requiem putting more emphasis on Eren's character?
So that's actually something I'm really excited for, and one of the things I'm looking forward to the most. Eren, in my opinion, is easily the most pivotal character in Attack on Titan right now, especially during the Rumbling arc. So, in my opinion, his lack of emphasis in the canon version until the very end was just confusing to me as to why Isayama did that. And getting his POV as we go along the story, in my opinion, is a lot more effective than just saving everything for the very end. Because in the canon version, it did feel like we were just too much at one time, and it was really strange having no dialogue from Eren during all of those chapters towards the end. And it was a really big waste, in my opinion, just because of the fact that it had a good dynamic with every single character active in the arc. So for him to be given more emphasis, and especially to be now about to interact with Zeke and Armin, it's really interesting to me. And I think there's so much more potential with having Eren be active during these last few chapters as opposed to just at the very end.
Also, and to expand on Eren's character, there has also been another controversy online on Eren's character in No Requiem. The fandom stating he feels very emotionless and has no feelings towards Armin and Mikasa. How do you feel about the fandom labeling him this way?
So yeah, this is actually what I wanted to talk about the most. And all of the feedback I've seen towards Requiem, I've seen the majority of people saying that Eren is overly edgy, and they've been really throwing around the label Chadren with his character. But I just wanted to remind people that during the actual canon Rumbling arc, aside from his breakdown in 131 with Ramsey, Eren really only showed emotion at the very end. Um, this is probably going to be the case with Requiem. I think that people are judging things too prematurely because if we look in the actual canon manga, Eren was very emotionless and we actually had a huge lack of dialogue from him up until the very end. And
Also, if we take a look at the actual Akatsuki no Requiem theory, the actual music video symbolizes Eren crying over two graves, and that could possibly be him crying over Armin and Mikasa. So in the actual theory, he does show emotion. So we just have to wait to see all of No Requiem to see if Eren finally throws out emotion towards the end.
yeah, to build off of that point too, Requiem Eren actually does show emotion, and this kind of slipped past a lot of people. But when he's in the Path Realm, and we get the memory shard scene, he actually reflects and laments on things that he tried to change. And he states that it was the first thing he tried to do, but he just wasn't able to change these events. And in the background, we see panels of Petra, Sasha being shot by Gabby, and his mother's death. So that to me, pretty big show of emotion that the very first thing he did to prevent these tragedies. And then one other thing too, I noticed a lot of people had problems with referring to Armin as an enemy in the very last page. And I just want to remind people that Eren probably doesn't actually view Armin as an enemy, and even if he does, he probably doesn't have any ill will towards him. I just want to remind people that in 138, Eren was trying to kill Armin, at least it seemed. I mean, his Titan broke Armin's face and was punching him, and obviously you can look at that and go, well, obviously they weren't enemies because of what we get in 139, but it's the same case of people judging Requiem too prematurely. It's most likely that at the very end, Eren is going to express care for Armin and Mikasa.
I agree. Part one of No Requiem has been out, and we still have the rest of the series to continue, so we'll see. Then, after the conversation between young Eren and his adult self, we see Armin and Zeke having a conversation in Paths, exactly like in chapter 137. But I did notice they changed the dialogue quite a bit. How do you feel about Zeke and Armin's dialogue in No Requiem compared to the canon dialogue in chapter 137?
So it was actually cut a lot shorter than in 137. The whole philosophy change in Zeke's character didn't actually happen. Instead, the conversation was a lot more fluid and to the point. But the biggest difference was everything about Ymir. Now, this is really subtle, but in the actual canon 137 version of the conversation, they actually had the plot point of Ymir loving King Fritz set up. Zeke mentioned her and talked about how Ymir obeyed Fritz, had an attachment to the abusive life she left behind, which was because she actually had romantic feelings towards King Fritz. I personally didn't like this plot point. I already wasn't in favor of Ymir loving King Fritz just due to the horrible things he did to her, but then to have explanation as to how or why she loved him just really didn't make sense to me. Now, Requiem, on the other hand, it doesn't look like they're going to follow this plot point. Zeke states that Ymir actually has a hidden reasoning behind obeying King Fritz, and that her suffering must have been truly great. This suggests that Ymir doesn't have that attachment happening. 123 to me is my favorite moment in the series, and the dynamic between Eren and Ymir is something I really expected expanded upon rather than a whole nother plot point happening and ultimately being the thing to break the chain of hate.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about Zeke's character because I was very disappointed with how Isayama decided to end Zeke's character, how Zeke just like sacrificed himself to Levi and like everything that he fought for kind of just didn't matter anymore. It was disappointing to me, and I'm really curious to see how No Requiem is going to handle Zeke's death, or if they even add Zeke's death in the series. How did you feel about Zeke's death in the canon manga?
Yeah, so I'm in kind of the same boat you are. I really wasn't in favor of it, and it felt very shallow and underwhelming. And to me, that whole conversation between Zeke and Armin in the canon version and his development really didn't fall in line with his character. Now, I do like the idea of him losing his nihilistic perspective on life, and Armin kind of showing him that there are things to live and exist and that there is meaning in the small things in life, but it didn't make sense to me because what we have to understand about Zeke is that his philosophy is so tied with his character and who he is, and he has just done so much under believing in that philosophy. I mean, he in Return to Shiganshina, he massacred all of these Survey Corps members, his own people, Eldians. He killed them all, believing that their lives were meaningless and that he was ultimately saving them from having to exist. And then, even in the War for Paradise battle for Paradise, we see him turn, um, willing to turn Falco into a Titan, into a pure Titan, in order to achieve his goal. So the fact that he would sacrifice and do so much to get to this goal and then to be talked out of it so quickly just really didn't fall in line with his character and felt really sudden and just unrealistic. So I really wasn't a fan of his perspective on life that he's always had, which just kind of flip flopped like that really fast.
I completely agree with you. I really hope Requiem handles his character better towards the end. So another thing I was going to ask, we already know that No Requiem will be following the Kotsky No Requiem theory, but what else would you like to see in Requiem? Like, what do you think they should leave out from the canon ending, and what do you hope to see?
What I'm definitely looking forward to are some better character conclusions. Of course, for instance, Zeke. I'm really curious to see what they do with Zeke because I was very disappointed with the fact that he didn't really do anything with Aaron towards the end, which was really a shock to me because of the strong dynamic that was built between them after the moments in 121 to 123. I really expected what we got later on to kind of build off of that huge pivotal moment. So now that Zeke is still alive and Aaron has now entered the Paths realm, I'm really curious to see what happens between the two of them. Of course, other characters like Reiner, who were heavily underutilized, I'm excited to see if Requiem gives them any more chances to shine as opposed to the canon ending. Things I do hope that they keep are everything with Levi, his character conclusion, and maybe even the final battle that happened where into this colossal titan sort of form and fought Armin. I really liked that because it kind of symbolized how the two had different perspectives on freedom, and just seeing them fight was a really cool moment. And other than that, I really hope they cut out with Aaron being reincarnated into a bird and Aaron, just all of these plot points all being thrown at us at the very end, and then of course everything with the 8 pages. But following the Requiem theory, none of that's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. I felt like Isayama forgot about a lot of characters and just kind of threw them out at the end, and we didn't get a good character conclusion to like Reiner or Zeke, of course. Zeke, I was just so disappointed with his end. I really hope Requiem handles that a lot better, and the other characters as well, like Reiner and the other warriors. But I also wanted to talk about those 8 pages, those 8 pages that were added to the ending. I was not in favor of them at all.
Yeah, talking about those 8 pages, wow. So I want to talk about first kind of how they fell in line with the plot and then how they fell in line thematically. Just felt like the worst case scenario that we could get because it really didn't fall in line with everything we saw before. And although there is, of course, the panel of Aaron saying he's going to accomplish nothing, it doesn't make sense to me because we have characters like Flock who were clearly painted as an antagonist and someone who's wrong just due to the way that he's treated. You know how he gets his arm broken and how he gets shot and he's an enemy. He's not supposed to be right with his ideology. We got in the 8 pages proved him right that Paradis was going to die if the rumbling didn't fully get carried out. And of course, we have Zeke. Zeke ultimately, those 8 pages proved his philosophy and his plan right too, because if he were to euthanize the Eldians, the same exact thing happened in Aaron's plan, except there would be even less deaths, and then of course the rumbling wouldn't have needed to happen.
So, from what we've seen so far of No Requiem, do you think No Requiem has the potential to surpass the canon ending in terms of writing?
So this is going to
And
come as a shock to some people, but already from what we've already seen, I'm already in preference of AOT Requiem, and the biggest reason being Aaron rumbling. Um, so just to reiterate, and I'm sure people know this, but just to kind of tie in with the point I'm about to make, in the canon version, Aaron did the rumbling so that his friends could live peaceful lives. The thing is, he's unsure of whether or not his friends are going to survive. He talks about how he feels regret for dragging them into this battle because they could die, and that to me is a very shallow reason for doing something so huge and terrible, that being massacring 80% of the human population. And I know people will call Quiem Aaron psychopathic, wanting to destroy the world, but either way, both of them are equally deep rooted in sin because they are both committing the worst act imaginable, and that being massive, wide-scale planetary genocide. Um, but Aaron, in the canon version, he leaves the fate of the world in the hands of his friends, but Paradis still ends up getting destroyed, and that makes Aaron's actions in the canon ending feel so weightless and unimpactful. Whereas in Requiem, Aaron is sacrificing everything he holds dear. He's sacrificing his humanity, which he did do in the canon version, but he's also sacrificing his friends. It's likely he's going to fight and maybe even kill his friends. He's doing all of this to attain this new world that ushers in an eternal peace. And this to me, while it's still unimaginably just horrible to murder the entire world like that, it is more selfless of a cause to me. Because if you think about it, it's a lot less selfish. Aaron, rather than killing 80% of all human life to protect his 5 friends, to give them the possibility of living peacefully, Aaron here is sacrificing, which means most to him, his friends, to create this ideal world in which the chains of hatred are shattered and broken, and the remaining survivors of humanity can build a new world and live together in peace. And with what Aaron has seen in his life, the devastating effects from war and genocide, just creating a new world like that seems so much more realistic and backable rather than just doing all of that to protect his friends. And to me, I like that better because rumbling is one of the biggest things in Attack on Titan. I mean, it was built up to so much, and that moment where it's activated in 123 is just such a pivotal moment in the series. I cannot stress it enough. So for the rumbling to have more of an impact, for him to be doing it to create a whole new world, is just far better to me.
I couldn't have said it better. Wow. So that concludes our podcast on No Requiem. We will be continuing the podcast series as the rest of No Requiem gets published. Thank you so much, Manga Philosophy, for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to make more podcasts in the future.
Yeah, I can't wait to continue the rest of the podcast series. Definitely go check out his Instagram. I will link it down below in the description. If you guys enjoyed this type of podcast, let me know in the comments below, and we will try to make more podcasts in the future. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Perna Kenshin out.